Kenyans, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We are living in very strange times when we have to transact some official businesses from our homes. This afternoon, I have a statement I'm going to read on behalf of the members of the National Council on Administration of Justice. As Chief Justice, I'm also the chairman of the National Council on Administration of Justice, which brings together all the stakeholders in the justice sector. We members of the National Council on Administration of Justice join other national leaders in calling for strict adherence to the safety measures put together by the National Emergency Response Committee on coronavirus. The justice sector is committed to doing its part to ensure that the battle against the pandemic is won. Further to this, we wish to make it clear that contrary to some perceptions, the judiciary and the rest of the justice sector have not closed the shop. What has happened is that following the declaration by the World Health Organization of coronavirus as a pandemic and the subsequent confirmation of positive cases in the country, the National Council on Administration of Justice, which brings together the state and the non-state actors in the justice sector, met on the 15th of March 2020 and resolved to scale down all the judiciary public-facing operations in compliance with the recommendations of the National Emergency Response Committee on coronavirus. All the stakeholders in the justice sector have appropriately adapted to the emerging challenges and taken various actions, both individually and collectively, to ensure that they prevent the spread of the virus while also ensuring that the sector continues to render essential services to the people of Kenya. Yesterday, the National Council on Administration of Justice members held a virtual meeting attended by, among others, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Inspector General of Police, the Commissioner General of Prisons, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, as well as the Chairman of the Nairobi chapter of the Law Society and the judiciary leadership, to review the sector operations in the wake of the scaling down of the court operations. After consideration of the issues raised and the challenges experienced in the 2-week period, as well as a review of the measures taken by different agencies, the Council agreed as follows. Number one, handling of criminal matters. Petty and traffic offenders should never be held by police for more than 24 hours. They should be released on bond or cash bail and let to go home until they are required to go back either to the police station or to court. Officers in charge of police stations are therefore under strict instructions to implement these directions. To enhance transparency and accountability, the police will establish centralized records showing the number of people arrested and handled in all police stations and the terms of their release on bond or bail. This will be regularly monitored by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and periodic reports will be available to the members of the National Council on Administration of Justice. Taking place and urgent criminal hearings. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions remains open with one officer in charge of every regional office to process files for plea taking and other urgent matters. In consultation with the regional ODPP officers, heads of court stations have been facilitating plea taking for serious offenses that are not subject to police bond. Magistrates across the country continue to review and revise bail and bond terms for petty offenders to facilitate their release from prison as they await their trial. Serious crimes, including defiance of national orders regarding the control of COVID-19, will continue to be presented to court for plea taking. In consultation with the police and the DPP, courts will convene at short notice and handle such cases. There has been a significant spike in sexual offenses in many parts of the country in the last 2 weeks. These offenses constitute 35.8% of the criminal matters reported during the period. In some cases, the perpetrators, unfortunately, of such offenses are close relatives, guardians, or persons living with the victims. These are people who are supposed to take care of the young girls, and instead of taking care, they are preying on them. So depending on the individual facts of each case, upon application by the DPP, the courts will be available to give early hearing dates and hear those matters as quickly as possible. The congestion of prisons. In the last 2 weeks, files of inmates who are petty offenders jailed for periods of less than 6 months, and those others whose terms, the remaining period is less than 6 months to complete their jail terms, have been presented to the High Court for review of their sentences. This has resulted in the release of 4,800 inmates, significantly helping to decongest the prisons. The exercise is continuing. New inmates are being isolated to reduce the risk of infection, and the movement of the inmates has been highly restricted. This is in prisons themselves. Prison visits have been suspended, including visits to the staff quarters. Prison labor has also been reduced to a bare minimum. The justice sector actors will continue embracing technology, and plans are underway to enable inmates to participate in the virtual trials of their cases as prisoners are not being transported to court to avoid infection. Handling of civil cases. The filing of urgent matters and the pleadings. On 20th of March this year, the Chief Justice gazetted practice directions on electronic case management to guide the integration of ICT in judicial proceedings. The practice directions are being used by various courts across the country to facilitate use of technology in service delivery. The courts have provided contact lists, including email addresses and telephone numbers of court stations and specific contact persons. Stakeholders are given directions as to the filing of the matters under certificate of urgency, and also the filing of time-bound pleadings. A duty judge in every of the superior courts, in each of the superior courts, and a magistrate in every station is available every day to deal with urgent matters. Urgent applications forwarded to the judges and magistrates who give directions on the hearing and issue necessary orders. This system is working well, as is evidenced by the fact that in the first 1 week, 1,779 matters were handled at various court stations. Tribunals, on the other hand, have handled 244 applications under certificate of urgency in the last 2 weeks. The bulk of these being the business premises tribunal and the rent restriction tribunal. Judgments and rulings. In line with the safety guidelines issued by the National Emergency Response Committee on coronavirus, judges and magistrates are executing their duties, albeit from home. The judges and magistrates have taken this opportunity to write their pending judgments and rulings. In this regard, we are happy to report that in the next 2 weeks, the Supreme Court will deliver 1 judgment and 10 rulings. The Court of Appeal will deliver more than 45 judgments and rulings on appeals and applications heard in Kisumu, Nairobi, Mombasa, and Eldoret through email on Friday, the 3rd of April. The High Court will deliver 367 judgments and rulings. The Environment and Land Court, 269. The Employment and Labor Relations Court, 75. And the subordinate courts, 390. Various heads of courts and tribunals at court station level will issue directions on delivery of judgments and rulings in cases where parties and all their advocates have not given email addresses. Video conferencing technology has been adopted to deliver some of these judgments, as was evident in Mombasa, Malindi, and Eldoret. More courts will deliver judgments in this way in the days to come. Judges and magistrates shall continue writing the judgments, and as soon as they are ready, we will deliver them in the same way. Execution of court warrants. Execution of warrants of arrest, court decrees and orders made prior to the 15th of March this year is hereby suspended until further notice. The police, court bailiffs, and auctioneers are in the circumstances instructed not to carry out execution of those court orders and warrants that were issued before the 15th of March this year. Orders and directives of conservatory nature and mandatory injunctions, as well as restrictive injunctions issued during the scaling down period starting 15th of March this year will however be executed as directed in those orders. The Law Society of Kenya will continue to communicate to its members on the essential services being offered by the courts and according to the above resolutions, and any changes that we may find necessary. For the safety of the staff and the litigants who come to courts, as the justice sector, we continue to offer scale down operations. Efforts will continue to be made by all the agencies to provide protective gear and maintain the necessary social distances. For the safety of the public attending court proceedings, some proceedings may have to be held in open places within the court premises in order to keep the required social distances. In conclusion, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, even in the difficult and unprecedented times we find ourselves in, the National Council on Administration of Justice is determined to ensure that the wheels of justice do not grind to a halt. As a sector, we are determined to work together to adopt online processes and embrace technology in accordance with the recent legislated practice directions on electronic case management. The National Council on Administration of Justice will constantly review the situation and update the nation from time to time on matters that we need to the change on the practice. So this communique now supersedes all the others that had been given earlier on, and I hope we will all work together to enable us to deliver services to the Kenyans during these very, very difficult times. As has been said by other leaders, I want to join them and continue to appeal to all of us that it is important that we adhere to the directives given by the Ministry of Health. This thing is not a joke, and unless we take care, we are going to be run down. I want to assure the Kenyans that on our part, we will do our part and offer services and make sure that we don't transmit the virus. Thank you very much, and keep your distances and keep safe. God bless you.